Thanks for the kind invitation, and good morning to everyone. We are going to talk about building sustainable smart cities and new business models. And for us, there are three key elements. One is innovation, technology, and the last one is talent. So let's go through the agenda. Short introduction, sustainability, one of the key drivers, energy, infrastructure, innovation, which means also competitiveness, talent, and sport, which is one of my other passions. Beyond energy, I am privileged to be involved with sport, and then some conclusive remarks. Where do we start from? We start from the concept of sustainable smart city, which means to have a holistic approach, a wide-angle and long-term perspective with regard to energy, to related infrastructures, but also we need to put the right emphasis on the interconnection, which means not linear, not modular, which means intercommunicating and integrated platform. And this means also real-time exchange of information, real-time optimization of the whole system. Sustainability is a cornerstone, which means that is the key driver when we plan, we develop, as Peace City World does, what smart cities are to be, and particularly how they have to function according to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which I have the privilege to concretely implement with a great person, which is the 8th United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, because it was under the leadership of Mr. Ban Ki-moon that these UN Sustainable Development Goals were developed. And we did a lot. We did walk the talk, particularly when we are talking to sport event. Sustainability is a great opportunity to innovate. Sustainability means, as I said, competitiveness, means technology, but also when we talk about sustainable energy, we need to think about mobility, which means new services, which means new infrastructures, which means interconnection and integration. We talk a lot about sustainable development. Sustainable development means long-term strategy, means certainly to try to reduce as much as possible the so-called environmental footprint, but also something that we often forget, which is the water footprint, which is key in our cities. And we need to certainly combine that environmental footprint, that reduction of the environmental burden with two other key elements, economic growth and social cohesion. These are the pillars of sustainable development, and certainly the environmental dimension has to be combined with these two other elements with a long-term perspective. Sustainable development means forget about the old traditional linear economy models. We need to think more and more in a circular way, which means tackling with a new approach the key challenges we have to deal with. And we've heard from the previous speaker, Sandra, but also Richard, how important is this energy transition and how many challenges we have. I wouldn't call it climate change. This is a real climate crisis. This is the right way to call it. Biodiversity loss, as you said, which is one of the key elements also in your country, water, waste, and pollution. And the three dimensions, environmental, economic, and social, should lead us towards forgetting about the traditional end of life in current production and consumption practices. We need to think about multiple life cycles. We need to think about reducing where possible and where it's not possible to reuse, recycle. This is ecology. Ecology means that a byproduct or a waste for a certain industrial production cycle becomes new material or energy recover from that cycle. So waste management is a good example of that. We cannot think about building smart cities, the cities of the future, without thinking to the, for example, valorization of waste. Waste is the resources. And we need to think to new circular waste management systems, which are essential when we talk about circular economy. But certainly, circularity is very much in line with the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and we want to walk the talk on that. Energy and transport. Energy and transport, as Sandra was clearly showing, are two key elements. One, when we talk about energy is strictly related to decarbonization, and decarbonization is a must, because energy and transport accounts today for 2/3 of global greenhouse gases emission. And why I mention GHG and not just carbon dioxide? Because often we forget that we have other greenhouse gases with a significant higher global warming power than carbon dioxide. So we need to think to greenhouse gases as a whole. And as Sandra said before, cities account more or less for 70% of the global greenhouse gases emission and consume 3/4 of the overall natural resources. Fossil fuels, and we have Marta here from, she's a gas expert, is going to tell us more about how important gas in the energy transition, because we have to think about what we have today, and we need to think that today the generation of electricity is largely still related to fossil fuels. Gas plays a significant role. So phasing out of the fossil fuels means also going forward to a new type of mobility, a more sustainable mobility, which requires what? Something that we talk very little about. Is a mindset change, is a behavioral change. We need to start from each of us. We need to adopt systems, method, approach, which are more sustainable, which means try to reduce the use of your car when it's not needed. In sport, in global sport event, I have the honor to be president of the association of all the international sport federations recognized by the IOC. Is a must, a mindset change when we need to reduce cars utilization. We need to reduce, for example, the plastics, which is when I see athletes making large use of unnecessary, plastics and plastic bottles, which means also polluting our ocean, polluting our planet. So mindset and behavioral changes. We need to start with ourselves, maybe also with more sober lifestyles. Everyday lifestyles has to be more sober and more sustainable. Certainly when we talk about infrastructure, they are key to the transition, and we need a digitalized infrastructure platform ecosystem because otherwise we are not going to have smart cities, which means smart grids, biodirectional lines, which means new distribution network, and automated control of the power and supply demand, which often is very much unbalanced. Smart mobility platforms are very, very important for many things, such as autonomous driving vehicle, which is the very near future. Smart parking, think about the Internet of Things or the artificial intelligence. Smart traffic light management to get real-time useful information about congestions, about smart street lighting is also another key element. So we need to think also about the building of the future, the smart building, where we will have so many sensors which will provide detailed real-time, not only environmental, but also operational data. Think about how important is the occupancy of this building, and think about how much is important to remotely control through domotics, through technologies, the energy utilization, but also the comfort of all of us living in these buildings. And when you think about transition, we need to, and I'm sure that Marta would agree with that renewable energy sources, most of them are intermittent. Think about solar, think about wind. And our Chinese colleague here is dealing with batteries. Batteries, energy storage is fundamental because you need to ensure that you do not consume the energy when the energy is produced. You need to store efficiently and effectively the energy, and you need to create a real-time, hopefully, balance between supply and demand. So vehicle-to-grid is going to play a key role. Is a win-win situation, the vehicle-to-grid, because electric vehicles can be an integrated part of the infrastructure of the energy storage, distributed, not necessarily centralized energy storage. And the vehicle-to-grid solution certainly will go into the direction of a more distributed energy resources system. And this concept of the vehicle-to-grid, we often underestimate the potential on the electric boat, which means a boat to grid or a grid to boat. And this is part of, in many cases already today, of local energy communities solution. Think about the large cruise vessels, ships. This is an amazing potential for storage. So sustainable mobility certainly means not only decarbonize, not only reduce the noise and pollution, but means reduce our travel times, creating more efficiency, multimodal transportation, and also a mindset change in the greater public transport usage. So when we talk about sustainable mobility, we need to think to the people which are more vulnerable, and we need to give access to sustainable mobility to these people. Otherwise, social exclusion is there, and we don't want that. So micro and micro mobility, and certainly reduction of emission and congestion. Quickly, talent. We talk about talent. We've heard about how important is the education. And certainly, innovation is related with individual and collective talent. But allow me to say that my experience as teaching at some universities, it's that the traditional education system focus more on theory, focus less on the learning by doing, on practical, down-to-earth elements. And we are developing skills, but we are creating specialized people, but certainly we are neglecting often about nurturing and engaging talents. This is a list of the new professions that are required in the smart cities. So artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data scientists, cybersecurity, which is key, and other professions that you see. So very quickly, I'm going towards the end of my presentation. As we said, you need to identify, to nurture, and try as much as possible to engage talent. And this is our primary objective at SAFE, and is a combination in our, what we consider a toolbox. You need to combine hard and soft skills. And instilling, as I discussed yesterday with Sandra, 3 elements: the eagerness to learn, entrepreneurship, and leadership. We need a leader who are capable to inspire the new generation. Sport can play a key role. So sport is vital to the economies of city. And certainly most of the large-scale sport events take place, including the Olympic Games or World Championship, take place in the city. So urbanization should certainly give the opportunity to practice a sport. Physical mobility is important, a sporting culture. And when we use infrastructure, we need to think about legacy, the legacy we are going to build with the local communities and citizens. So this is my conclusion very briefly. Sustainability is at the core of the cities of the future. And we've seen how important is energy transition, digital transformation, infrastructure, and mobility. And certainly, innovation and technologies are strictly interrelated with sustainability. Sustainability means developing talent, individual and collective talent, means put workplaces and communities with the human dimension at the center. This is fundamental. A society where we valorize individual and collective talent and leaders who inspire the new generation is going to be crucial. Our mission at SAFE is certainly to be proactively involved in building the cities of the future. And certainly, as I'm sure we will have the opportunity to do together, we are here to help, to support the planning and the developing of the future cities, the so-called sustainable, smart, and peace cities. Thank you so much.